Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of Tilted Talk. As always, I'm your host, Throoper, joined by my co-host, Throoper. And today we've got a very special guest for you guys, Balla, the famous caster, analyst, and esteemed VOD review specialist. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for the invite. I'm just doing good, man. I'm recovering from a lot of travel last couple of weeks and having a good time.
That's good. I'm assuming
I like Trooper and Trooper, by the way. That's fantastic.
We got the army watching, man. Yeah, they love it too, so it works.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of just worked out this way. We met at an event, we both casted and became friends. So here we are, talking Fortnite now.
Hey, man, I'm Trooper. Want to start a podcast? I'm Trooper too.
Basically, yeah, that's kind of how it went down.
Too easy.
Yeah, for real.
Nice.
So to give you guys a quick rundown, all the viewers on what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to do a quick breakdown of the latest patch notes. Not too much to discuss today, only one real change that came in for the actual gameplay side of things, but we'll talk about that really quick. Then we're going to be talking about, we're going to have some questions for Balla, specifically on his career, casting, Fortnite, all that sort of good stuff. Then we're going to be talking about the Fortnite World Cup qualifiers. Obviously, that's a big topic right now. Everybody's watching that and super excited about that. So we'll get into that with some detail. And then as usual, we'll finish up with the hot take. So we'll hop in on some community discussions, some clips of the week. We've actually have those on Twitter for you guys to vote on. I don't know if the voting's closed, but if not, you make sure you get your vote in now. You can see all the clips already up online. And finally, if you have any questions, post them in the chat, whether you're on Twitch, Mixer, and we will get to them at the end of this show if there is time. We will try and leave some time for that after this episode because we didn't do that last week. So, patch 8.4, the infantry rifle, that's the first thing. Basically, they added a new variant of it, an epic, a legendary, does quite a bit of damage, kind of hard to use. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Have either of you got to try it out, seen any clips of it? We actually do have some clips, I think, queued up of people using the infantry rifle. But what are your guys' thoughts on this new edition?
I haven't got my hands on it yet, unfortunately. I was looking forward in some games today, but wasn't able to find it for my loadout. From the looks of it, it looks like it can do some pretty nasty damage with a lot of these higher tier players. Because if you can hit your shots with this thing, getting that 88 damage for the headshot, that's a huge multiplier to get. And for these end game scenarios, you're not going to catch people with full 200 HP a lot of the time. So it could prove really, really wealthy for those types of people that have it in the late game.
Yeah, I think endgame it's going to be really good. I was already using it a little bit in just like arena mode and stuff like that. And just getting shots at people, it's like 1 or 2 shots is all you really need at endgame when everybody's starting to be a little less HP and all that stuff. So plus super precise. And once you get used to using it, it'll be really good, I think. But I'm not sure if people are going to pick it up over AR yet or SMG. SMG is obviously way better endgame. It'll be something that you pick up if you need an extra slot or whatever. Especially if you get like a gold one, it's probably better than a white AR or a white AK or something like that. But I'm not very good at it, so I just haven't had the chance to practice with it or anything like that. But I mean, if I pick it out the first chest, I'm not gonna be mad.
Yeah. Definitely seems like that. With the 88 damage, I mean, it does so much. I guess just the fire rate, like you said, makes the SMG a little bit stronger late game for taking down like walls and structures and stuff like that and getting access to players who are hiding. But with how accurate some of these guys are these days, like with how good they are at aiming their shots, that 88 headshot damage, that's a lot.
Yeah, especially with that first shot accuracy, you're going to get a lot of those players. I mean, once the circle's really tight, there's not going to be a lot of room for people to use them when it gets real into those last couple circles. I can see people trying to use this as a follow-up to a pump shotgun shot, for example. Maybe if you're in close range, it'll do a lot of damage on those follow-up shots. It probably would be good as a follow-up if you don't have an SMG probably to follow up with one of your shots. So a lot of people might double down that way because a lot of people have tried that with other guns that shot similar in similar style. Like people have swapped between Deagle and shotgun, for example, and now recently you even see shotgun in the flintlock too.
Yeah, I like the old AK. People used to hip fire that with the shotgun follow, and then shoot like 1 or 2 shots, and then switch right back to the pump. So that could definitely be viable. Maybe, I don't know. I'll just try it. Yeah. Not enough time to really know yet, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
still really fresh.
That's the beautiful thing about this show, honestly, is that we get to do the patch notes like the day that they come out. So sometimes we're wrong. We're speculating half the time, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to have that hot take right away and kind of get in and discuss it while it's still really new and everyone's talking about it. But this kind of does lead me to something that I wanted to talk about in terms of, so we have a new patch today. It's in the middle of the Fortnite World Cup qualifiers, obviously, and there's a new gun. So as an analyst and as a caster, how do you feel about them making changes to the competitive scene and to the game while people are trying to qualify for the World Cup with so much money on the line, stuff like that? Like, do you have opinions on that one way or the other?
Yeah. I mean, my opinion has changed. Like, I went to TwitchCon with the knowledge that I might be playing with zombies. So I used to be really, really, really upset about it all the time. Like, oh my God, every single time they're going to make a patch or whatever. And yeah, I'm not thrilled about it, but it's Epic, it's Fortnite, and this is how it is. And, you know, it actually makes things a little interesting sometimes. When it's not crazy stuff. Like a weapon here or there, I don't really care that much. And I think we're all used to that and accustomed to that for sure. It's Fortnite, and that's what makes this game fun for a lot of people. So
yeah, it's a good point. Trooper, do you have a take on that one way or the other? I think we've discussed this a couple times, somewhat on the show, but never.
Probably.
We've had to talk about this a little bit, like with
every
the baller,
week, maybe.
Maybe every episode, maybe
every single update. No,
but,
I mean, just to follow up what Balla was saying, Epic's making the decisions that they want to make right now in terms of how they see how the competitive path should be taken. It kind of gives you some extra levels, extra layers of, as people say, with heavy RNG in the game, gives you some more layers of that because week by week you have to worry about not only are your drops going to be changed on the map that you're so used to landing on, or is there going to be a new weapon or a new item that's going to annihilate your tower and take you out, like the boom boxes were. It's such a problem, I believe, at Katowice. There were so many other examples too, and I think that they're just trying to see which of these players are the absolute best at adapting, because really the meta has changed it so much in just even a year's time, even 6 months time, that we're really the top tier players that are coming out of these World Cup qualifiers. They're insanely next level, like something that I don't even think anybody thought was going to be conceived when the game first came out.
No. I mean, we had that discussion like last week or something, right? When we were talking about, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, we were discussing how there's probably no way Epic could have predicted the state of building and the state of Fortnite play that it is in now when they first launched it. I mean, Balla, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, but we were kind of thinking that when Epic released the game, they thought people are going to build mega bases at the end of the game. Like if you remember, like season 1, the very beginning, people were saving their mats, not really building mid-fight, and then at the end of the game, they build a giant squad base, and you'd kind of fight like that, and it's kind of evolved from that to the point that people are building. I mean, people at first thought the 1x1 was a crazy thing. Like, oh my God, everyone's building 1x1s. It was, yeah. And now everybody's building.
Remember the single ramp rush? You didn't even put walls to protect it. If you just went up with a ramp, people would just give up from there. It was the meta has changed so much, and not even that, not even just the building. Then people started evolving into editing better and doing the edit plays and using the building as such an offensive. It was really something to see just evolve.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they really expected BR to kind of be what it is now at all. Like, it was just kind of a thing that they did at the end of Save the World, you know, like, oh, let's just add a BR mode. That's how it felt. I mean, I don't know how they were thinking internally, but in terms of like adding things before competitive events, like it is going to be a 10-week event, right? There's no way we can expect them not to put changes in the game for that 10 weeks or what. Actually, it's more than that, right? Because the finals is way after the qualifiers. It's like a month in between or something like that. So I don't see how anybody expected them not to do changes. Like even if they made the post that was like, oh, we're thinking about competitive. We're going to try not to make any crazy changes right ahead of events. But like every single one since then has had some sort of change before it, right? And it's not always been game breaking, but I think that was after Winter Royale. So there was the boombox. There was, I mean, there wasn't really that many events. Katowice had the season 8 update completely. Oh,
I think the sword was the biggest one.
Yeah, so I'm talking about after Winter Royale because that's when they made their like competitive.
Right, that's true.
Posts, right? Yeah. So like, yeah, Katowice had season 8. Secret Skirmish had the plane and Deagle nerf. And that was pretty big, but really what we want is changes that aren't going to be crazy, that aren't going to make it make the meta completely different, right? So like adding ballers before World Cup. Like if that happened like 2 days before World Cup, everybody'd be freaking out because some people would figure out the baller strat where you just hide the entire game and other people wouldn't. And it's just like, okay, I mean, people will figure it out during the events. I mean, these guys are smart. They play a lot of games. People will figure stuff out during events to make it whatever it is. But at the same time, yeah, they really should consider, and I think they do. They try to consider the hopes of the competitive scene. Yeah, I mean, we should expect it. That's about it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And yeah, with Fortnite, you definitely should expect changes. Do you think that there should be difference, like when they in World Cup season? I mean, obviously, we just finished talking about how players should expect it, but should they maybe say, okay, competitive mode is frozen and we're just updating stuff the regular game, but the competitive mode is locked as this is for the next X number of weeks? Or do you think that's a good or a bad thing? Essentially, would that be a good or a bad move?
I think it would be a good move. I mean, I don't know about their business logistics, but for competitive integrity, as that's what I'm interested in, I think that'd be a good idea. Not necessarily for the entire time, but maybe lock out some of the more drastic changes, like, I don't know, adding planes back or something like that. Definitely don't do that like throughout the season. You could feel free to do that in a separate mode. Just don't do that during qualifiers and during finals, right? It's yeah. It's just like the NBA wouldn't make a crazy rule change in the middle of the season, right? There's no longer 3-pointers or there's 4-pointers or whatever. Like they wouldn't. Yeah. That'd be insane, right? Because you're not set up and you're not practicing for that.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. Trooper, do you have a thought on that? Or
yeah, I think the most things, or the hot topics that people want to see the most when it comes to the competitives, keeping the playlist obviously separate from the casual, any of those new additions, and keeping any new additions, for that mode to be tested if they're going to be good enough or suitable enough for competitive, instead of just throwing them in there. I think the main ones also were people want to see 100% chest spawns to cut down RNG a little bit, as well as obviously getting the 50 HP and the mats, the mat increase when you're trying to farm for materials. So if you have those 3 key things, you can have a really, really good competitive mode. Well, 4 key things if you count, waiting to add new things. But those are the main 4 things I think that would keep players happy consistently week by week. Just because I think a lot of players feel a little undercut just when they're trying to practice and then something gets drastically changed. I can see how they feel. So a lot of that is definitely needed just in the eyes of a lot of those players to help them out.
I mean, that was originally what Pop-Up Cup mode was for, right? Testing competitive things, exactly. Right? And Siphon eventually got moved to public and then removed. But it felt like they tried very few things. Like Siphon was one of them that everybody was, Poach was saying it on Twitter. Everybody was saying it on Twitter, like, hey, you should maybe try giving us an in-game kill incentive where we will, refresh our HP or we'll get some sort of loot or mats or whatever every kill, because that will make it so that we're more aggressive. And they tried it, it worked, and then it kind of just hung around. We didn't actually know if it was going to be used in competitive events. It wasn't used at AO, Australian Open. Like, I don't know. It feels like they want to test a lot of things, or it feels like there's a lot of things to test, but it's not something that matters too much to them, and that's okay, right? It's business decisions. That's all it is.
Definitely. I've always kind of felt, I could be wrong about this. Obviously, I don't know anybody at Epic. I don't have an internal line, but I feel like they've kind of modeled their competitive Fortnite after League of Legends, where it's supposed to be a reflection of Fortnite at large in general. Right? It's supposed to be a marketing vehicle for the game. And especially it does make sense because it's free to play. So anybody can play Fortnite. What they're really trying to do is generate hype and interest in people playing more and more and more, and buying the skins, buying the battle passes, all that sort of stuff.
It's highly encouraged because that, for example, Dave, if you would think a lot of these players had a choice and they were playing the game and got to choose the skin, most of them might go with the no skin, right? It has a lot of the, has close camouflage you might get, but I believe in every competitive event, the skins are completely randomized on the server, which kind of keeps it fair in a way, but also keeps it as like another marketing tool for Epic. They get to show off a lot of the skins that they released, and a lot of people get to see them, and it's a pretty good idea on their end.
Yeah.
It's all marketing. Every single esport is marketing. Like we
Exactly.
can just accept
Yep.
except the ones that are run by third parties. Like any sort of esport that is run by the developers, all marketing. So they have to keep the game as close to what the real game is. Otherwise, it's not marketing anymore. You know?
Yeah. No, definitely. That makes sense to me. It's just that's something that it's a tough. I feel for the developers and the guys who work on the game design team in this state, because it's obviously a very tricky balance between game design, keeping it fresh, and competitive integrity. Right? They kind of have to juggle all three of those at once. So it's not an easy dance for them to do. And a lot of credit to the guys who do it, because it's tough. I feel their pain. I wouldn't want their jobs. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not coming to take your jobs, guys. Relax.
I would just have notifications on Twitter off if I was a game dev.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
it's ridiculous. I mean, especially right now, anybody who works at Epic is just not using Twitter because it's pointless.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing that, if you're a fan and you're watching this right now and you have something to say to the developers about the state of the game, the number one thing I can tell you from the developers I do know at other games is just be constructive. Saying this update sucks, revert, blah blah blah. Like, they're not going to listen to that. That's just you trashing their work, and nobody likes to be told that what they just did is garbage. If you say, hey, if you were to write an articulate post and go, do you know what, I think this is maybe a little bit overpowered if you compare it to the other items or whatever, right? You articulate yourself well and intelligently and respectfully. There's a 1,000%, if not 10,000% higher chance that they're actually going to take that feedback into consideration, listen to you, maybe even respond to you and start a conversation and try and understand you a bit more. So just, if you're a fan and you really want your opinion to be heard, just keep that in mind. Or if you're a big streamer even, and you want to develop a good relationship with them, it's something to, keep in mind. Being civil is always helpful.
The main thing I think about when I tell people like how to give feedback is, there was somebody who made the change that you are writing against, right? Somebody made it work that way. Somebody accidentally inputted that bug, right? And they're a person. And if you're just saying this guy's an idiot, he should be fired, then you're fucking. Sorry, is this family friendly? Probably not.
It's okay.
All good.
It's okay.
You're making somebody feel bad. So I'm very cognizant of that, especially when I cast. Somebody could be watching that had a hand in making that thing work the way it does. So I have to be cognizant of that, and we should all be cognizant of that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's you always, what's the old adage? Like, you attract more bees, I don't know, honey, vinegar, something like that. Be nice to people, guys. It's just, everybody could use a little niceness these days.
I think that was the quote.
Something like that.
That reminded me of George Bush. You can't get fooled again. He was so confident on that.
Are you calling me George Bush now?
No.
Oh man, this is a great start. But so I think I know that there's a couple of questions like I have for you, Balla, and I'm sure chat. If you guys have anything that you want to know about him, please drop those questions in the chats, and we will get to it at the end of the show. But I think the first thing is, obviously, you're best known for your VOD review, and that's why you're serving as an analyst now. You're able to break down the game at a really, really high level and kind of find the things that make an actual difference. What would you recommend to somebody who maybe can't get their VOD reviewed by yourself, but wants to look at their own gameplay and figure out, how do I improve? Are there some key things that you would recommend looking at and aiming at in a sense to improve their own play and maybe have more effective VOD review sessions for themselves?
What I would say is, like, anybody can watch something and see something interesting or see a mistake or anything like that, and they could, spot it. But my main thing and my main lesson for people is always just do something actionable from it, right? So if you see, Tfue do something and you're like, oh, wow, that was really cool. And you already know it's good. You already know why he did it or whatever. You must have something actionable. If you don't, you're just going to forget it. It's just going to go out the window, right? So if you see him build like something, like a special thing, or you see him build through a wall, uses some, Tfue type thing, go in and try it and then force yourself to use it. And then it will become worthwhile. So like, even when you're VOD reviewing yourself, you see a mistake, this guy killed me behind my back when I was tunneling, right? Because it was open, right? People would stop there, and that's not where you need to stop. And it's not always intuitive, or people don't force themselves enough to do that, where you say, okay, instead of doing it this way, I'm going to make sure that every 3 blocks down, I'm going to block my back, right? That's something that is actionable from VOD review. That's the most important thing to me. It doesn't matter how small or how big or whatever the thing that you spot is. It's just that you have something actionable, right?
Yeah, definitely. How do you prioritize like the different? So let's just say you see a clip where there's 3 or 4 mistakes. Obviously, you kind of need to break down improvement into small chunks. You can't try and go, I'm going to improve at all 4 of these things simultaneously, because realistically, you're not going to be able to do that, right? You need to kind of set an order. How do you yourself prioritize the most important things to improve at and in an order? Like if you see a clip with a bunch of mistakes, where do you get somebody to start?
So it depends on if the mistake was punished. If the mistake was punished, then it's obvious, and it's like, okay, this is the biggest. For me, it's always whatever I feel is the biggest mistake of the game, or whatever my biggest problem was this game, right? And typically, when it's punished, it's really easy to be like, okay, I lost this game because of this, right?
Right.
But sometimes the thing, you get punished for something or you make a mistake and it's because of something way back, right? So a good example I usually use is end games, right? If you run out of mats in end game, it's not because it was sometimes, like, it depends on how you play, right? What the actual mistake is. But most of the time for people, and case by case, obviously, most of the time it's a early game mistake or a mid game mistake. You waste your mats in the mid game, and that's why you don't have any mats end game, right? It's a setup mistake. So you just have to think deep about what the actual issue is, and that's the thing that I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to focus on, I missed my shot. I never focus on that, right?
Right. Yeah. That definitely makes sense, because that's something. It's obviously everybody can improve their aim, and I think everybody's cognizant of that. Like I can't hit every single shot, so I need to get better accuracy and better aim. But generally, in almost every esport, there's players who are not the most mechanically talented who are still at the very top of the game, and that's because they make all of the mental decisions right, and then therefore they're always in a situation where they never have to hit, or they rarely have to hit that insane shot. They're putting themselves in a position to hit easy shots, right?
Yep. 100%. That's all this game is.
and just to follow up on that, it tells you a lot about different players, where if they're able to understand and able to study and dissect the bigger picture when it comes to the actual game itself, rather than getting bogged down on a third party or something that you might want to fight mid to early game. It was, as you said, Balla, if you don't have enough mats and you're in the end game and you end up running out and it's a moving circle or something, that could be an organization issue, something, maybe you wasted them early on in the game. You have to look at the bigger picture, and everything you do in the early mid game, you have to be doing in service to how you're going to outplay that end game. That's what your main goal is those placement points for the most part, and trying to get into that survival mode. So that's something that a lot of players, I think, really need to look at as well. And then on top of that, where they actually get eliminated, really try and dissect those mistakes and put those ones under a microscope. But understanding the game as like one full big picture, and realizing where your opponents are going to be rotating to, and thinking about their next move too, is, I think, just as important as anything, as technical as anything too.
I mean, I just keep asking the question, why? Like, why did I die? Because I missed my shot. Why did you miss your shot? Because I didn't Kovacs? No. Because he was in a position that was awkward for you or whatever, and you're not good at that. Maybe that's a possibility. Or could I have been in a better position for the shot anyways, where he wasn't actually going to be able to shoot me back? Yes, that's probably always the answer. Why was I not in a position? Okay, keep going back, right? Because I ran out of mats. Okay, why did you run out of mats? Because I had this fight in mid game because this guy pushed me. Why did he push you? You just keep going farther and farther back, and you always end up at the real mistake. You got to find the root of the mistake, or the root of whatever it is that you're trying to fix. And that's how you VOD review in a nutshell.
Cool. Nice. Well, hopefully for some of you guys that was useful, and I can, not everybody gets the chance to have their VOD reviewed by somebody as talented as Balla for picking these things apart. So hopefully that'll give you a slight improvement in your own ability to do so. And if you don't review your own VODs and you take Fortnite seriously, you need to stop and start reviewing VODs like yesterday.
It is literally the biggest thing that will improve. I recommend people do probably most of their time on VOD review. I barely play this game, and I'm very good still. So I mean, I focus my attention on aiming, on VOD review, and then the rest of the time is playing, obviously. And you have to play. But VOD review is the biggest way to improve because, again, if you think about the way this game is, you play for 25 minutes, and the only practice you're getting for the end game for that specific moment is that 2-minute section or the 6-minute section or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
So half the game is useless if you're already pretty good at it.
Yep, that's true. And I mean, even it could be even more than that. Yeah. Or if you land somewhere where you don't find people and you're kind of just running towards the circle in perpetuity, and it becomes like a little mini game of marathon. Now it's better for that because there's so many vehicles and ways that increase mobility that you can kind of get around the map a little bit quicker and find fights.
Yep.
But if you don't land somewhere like Pleasant or Tilted where there's guaranteed going to be a lot of action going on, then you can find yourself just walking around a lot. And unfortunately, in Fortnite, unless you want to waste your mats, which is not a good idea, it's very hard to practice doing anything throughout the course of the game if you're not finding people, right? In other games, there's little things you can maybe do in downtime during the game to kind of practice and keep yourself sharp. But in Fortnite, it's hard. So VOD review and creative, definitely practice your building. Make sure you have all those cycles down. And
just got to be focused with your practice. That's all you have to do.
And even if you're listening and you're watching, you don't think that, even if you think that just if I play more, I'll get better. All I got to keep doing is playing and I don't have to look at my VODs. Even just watching back my VODs right away, it's a perspective thing. Your mind isn't in the game since it's a past video that you're watching. You notice and you'll look at different things. You'll pick up on so many different things, and right away I'll be like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do this? Oh my god, I had a launch pad. Like, you'll notice so many things that you might not notice when you were in the moment. So watching and just getting those scenarios built in your head will make it so much easier for you in the future.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, I had a launch pad. Okay, what was the reason? Why? I know, for me too, man. Why did you forget that you had a launch pad? Right? That's the question you should ask. Not, I forgot I had a launch pad. Okay, next time I'll remember I have a launch pad, because next time you have a launch pad, you're gonna forget it too. Like you have to have something actionable.
Yeah,
that's VOD review, man. The people fall into mistakes all the time when VOD reviewing. Like legit, they always forget what the purpose that they're doing this is, and they always go into some mode. Like I watch a lot of people who are inspired by me or whatever, and they watch their own stuff, and all they do is they just kind of go back over their thought process. And that's almost never effective, right? Because you're never actually thinking about what you're doing when you're playing the game. If you are, you're not playing the game right, because you're going to be too slow at anything you do. Right.
Should be all reactionary. The analogy I always like to give is that, there's no player who plays in the NBA or the NHL or the NFL that never went to practice. If you think somebody's in the NBA and all they did was play pickup and 5-on-5, you're out of your mind. They spent hours in the gym, hours going over their own tape, that sort of stuff, right? And the same thing applies to every esport, Fortnite included. So just something to keep in mind for all of you guys out there who are trying to get better, maybe trying to qualify over the next 9 weeks. Actually, we got a question from Nyler that was the exact Nxiler. I really hope I pronounced that right. If not, I'm sorry. Names are hard. But it was actually one of the questions that I had for you. So I guess we'll just hop right into that. We touched on it a little bit, but what are your thoughts on the current meta? Do you think it promotes enough aggression? Is it fun to watch? Is it fun to cast? Is it, skill-based, or is there a lot of stuff in it that kind of can hide that? What are your thoughts?
I preferred the last one, and it was really rough starting off in this meta. Obviously, ballers is the big topic in this, right? I am not a fan of. I think ballers are crazy fun, especially mid games, early game. It's just fun to whip yourself around, right? It's really fun. I can literally spend half my arena game just running around in a baller, whipping myself around, and it's fun. But when I get to end game, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not really playing the game. But with the 200 HP nerf, I think people are actually I don't think there's anybody who is good because of ballers, for example. I feel like a week ago I would have said that. I would have said that, yes, this guy is only good because of baller, or he's only in this end game because of the baller. And sure, people might sneak in through that, but again, this game is a game of, it's never one game, right? It's always multiple. You always weed out certain factors that RNG factors or whatever it may be that will just go away. It'll average out over the next couple of games. So nobody will be good because of a baller. I just don't think that's the thing. Is it fun to cast? Yeah, it's still Fortnite. It really sucks when there's like 20 ballers to like two person, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think people are cognizant of what they need to do. If they don't have a target, they need to be shooting a baller. In the end game, especially on high ground, for example, you'll see anybody, like you'll see Psalm whenever you watch him. You'll see Scented, any River Sun, any good player right now is if they don't have a target, they're shooting a baller. If it's in the open, anybody, right? And that leads to there not being any ballers all the way to the end game. And it also leads to not that crazy amount of baller numbers. Like every once in a while, sure, I'll have a game like that or I'll cast a game like that. And it's like, okay, well, that sucks. But it averages out. And I think the good players are still going to be the good players. So I'm fine with it. I wish it wasn't so, but.
Okay, the serious question. Baller or the Stormwing?
Baller.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm with you on that. I hated the Stormwing.
The Stormwing was a very, very frustrating item or like vehicle, just because it could crash on you. Just if you got crashed on, like I played, Share the Love qualifiers in California at a LAN center, and it was the most frustrating experience I have ever had. Because every single game I would get planed on for no reason. Like, it would just make people do stupid things and build bad habits. Whereas the baller, you still have to have good habits. You still have to, not be a complete idiot. And if you do that, then you're going to do good, and you're going to be better than somebody without a baller in terms of placement. But yeah, the other thing is like you have to abandon your baller eventually if you want kills. Like, and if you want to score well in the format, you have to get out of your baller eventually. No, none of the players sat in a baller until top 2 and won the game and was like, okay, cool, I qualified. No, because you only get like 13 points from that. You really need to have 18, 19 points a game if you want to actually do well, or in your good games, right?
Yeah, which is insane.
It's
hard.
I just like those planes so much when they were part of the game that I would have killed to be a fly on the wall of somebody that used to abuse them, constantly crashing into builds over and over again, and they didn't read the patch notes when they got rid of that, and then they just crashed on, bounced off someone's wood tower. Like, what just happened? Funny. I mean, those were way more toxic and competitive. The ballers, at least, now with the nerf to the health, they're way more viable, and also. If you shoot explosives or throw an impulse at them, they go flying into the storm. You can definitely combat against them way easier than a plane. 100%. Yeah. A lot of people actually mentioned, just a quick mention that the new LTM they have now with the planes back, the Air Royale. Everyone's locked into the planes. Yeah, and it's actually really interesting because a lot of people were saying this is how they should have introduced the planes. I think they would have been welcomed a lot more. They would have been way less polarizing or vilified within the community. I think if they were probably, we needed to be spoon fed, but literally it was just kind of just shoved into our throats for that.
Everything would be if it was put into an LTM first. I think it would have been well, see, the thing is, like, if you put something in LTM, the competitive community is not going to play it at all, so you're not going to get any feedback at all on, like, I have played probably one LTM out of my last like 7-8 months of playing a game, so I don't know.
I don't know, man. We gotta play that food fight, man. Practice for week 2, dude. I don't
know. I don't even know what that is, man. Only a bad marketer, bad advertiser, but
it's not your fault when the LTMs change every day, and so it's not. It's hard to keep up with them for sure.
And yeah, especially right now, like definitely maybe after the World Cup, you'll probably see a lot more, competitive Fortnite players maybe hopping into an LTM because there's nothing really competitive going on. It's like, well, I still want to have fun playing Fortnite. I just got done grinding so much. Hey, look, there's this new wacky mode. Let's play it. But
I played Floor's Lava, and I hadn't had that much fun in a long time in just like a pub, right?
Yeah, that was fun. I played that one.
A crazy good LTM.
Yeah, that was a good one. So what are your thoughts on like casting Fortnite? I mean, I don't really know. Did you cast anything or do anything before Fortnite? Is Fortnite your foray into esports and competitive video games? Or give us a little bit of your personal backstory here, and then how is casting Fortnite? Because I've casted other games, but not Fortnite. And there's 100 players in a Fortnite lobby. That seems like, how do you determine what players you're going to be cycling through and going? Like, I pity the spectator, whoever's the driver. I pity that man.
They have a tough job. So I'm a veteran at esports. I've never been like super involved in it. I've always watched. I've always played as much as possible. I come from Counter-Strike. Played StarCraft for a long time. Quake as well. OG, right? Like I've been doing this for 15 years playing, right? I think my first cast was like an audio cast in Ventrilo with actually Rivington in 1.6, like 2007 or something like that. Wow. Audio cast, I was just like, oh, let me just do this for some people. And it was fun. It gave me my first taste. And I was like, yeah, I could do this. I never really pushed it. I never got an opportunity or anything like that. And I really didn't push it. Again, I was like 14 years old or whatever. That like probably 1 or 2 times, did some amateur StarCraft casting for some various like random cups or whatever. And that was fun. And then some more Counter-Strike Go casting when that came out for just like my teammates, or my old teams or something like that, or friends. And then played Fortnite, and now I'm here.
Yeah, that's awesome that you said you came from Counter-Strike and also with a StarCraft background, because if you're able, you've casted StarCraft, if you're able to cast StarCraft and you also come from Counter-Strike where there's so much complexity that goes into the plays that are made and all the strategies, that's a nice combination to bring to Fortnite, especially at the stage that the game's in right now. You definitely bring a nice perfect little cocktail of information for the analyst desk. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of casting, again, it was, one-offs. Like, it wasn't actual experience. I never worked with a production team or anything like that. But I always say that Counter-Strike and as a StarCraft background is the best mix for a Fortnite player. Because you need the aim, you need the tactics, you need the angles, all that stuff from Counter-Strike. You need the teamwork, the comms, right? But it is actually a very, very, very high APM game. You need to be multitasking like crazy in this game. That's how you win endgames, right? I actually just made a video called the endgame checklist, right? Which is literally I stole that concept from StarCraft, because in StarCraft you have to manage your base. You have to macro, you have to build all your units, you have to make sure you're building all your buildings so that you're progressing, you have to make sure you get your upgrades, you have to micro your units, you have to scout, you have to do all this stuff, right? You have to always be focused on, literally, you're switching things every like half a second, every quarter second, you're switching things that you're doing. Boom, 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 boom. Camera angles, all that stuff. Fortnite's the same way, right? Endgame, you have to be looking up, looking down, looking left, looking right. Okay, you have to be checking mats. You have to be checking your inventory. You have to be reloading all your weapons. You have to be looking for shots. You have to be making sure you have a level to yourself. You have to be, you have to be calming with your teammate. You have to be making a plan. All this stuff. Legit, it's so important to be hyper active and multitasking like crazy. So I feel like StarCraft and Counter-Strike is legit the best mix of experience to play Fortnite.
Well, you're known as a pretty talented player, and obviously you're a very good analyst, so not going to dispute you on that. Sounds like you're probably right. Do you think there's a difference between the type of player that maybe excels in solo and duo? And if there is, like, could you maybe highlight what would make somebody better at one or the other?
Yeah, it's personality differences, right? Somebody who is very abrasive and doesn't calm well, it's not going to be a very good duo, but they can still be a mechanical god and do all the things that I just said and be really, really, really good at solos. And it's also like attitude. I think attitude, if you have good attitude in solos, you're going to be better than somebody who might not have such a good attitude, where it would help to have a duo because your duo will be able to pick you up, right? In solos, if you get crashed on by a plane and you rage and then you have 8 more games to go, it's over for you, man.
Yeah.
It's over for you. Like, you can't, there's so many things that you just can't come back from mentally in this game that is so freaking important to just reset and think about the next move, right? So that it's all personality. And I definitely think there's people who are way better at solos than duos, and there's definitely people who are way better at duos than solos, right?
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, duos has like a completely different like skill set when it comes to what they actually have to do, right? There's no pinch in solos. There's no tactics that are duo focused, right? completely different skill set.
No bait and switch, no baiting in general or anything like that. So
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this weekend is going to be the first weekend with the respawn ban in duos, right? How do you think that's going to change? How do you think that's going to change the competitive side of things, or is it at all? Are players just going to do they die together regularly, or is this going to be something that really alters how teams approach duos?
I don't think it changes much. I mean, we've been watching customs for a week now with duos. I mean, most people were playing solos last week, but you can watch them tonight. And the only thing I think that it does is make more early games drop spots more viable. Because if you end up, if you're contesting, I mean, I'll use an example from TwitchCon for me. Like we contested at Pleasant Park, my team and I at Bumpa, and we were fighting Envy, Linane, and Sketch. And I think 2 out of 4 times that we fought, one of us died on either team, right? Like full KO'd. So if you drop in a named POI, you are much more comfortable there because if you do take a fight, then you can res your teammate. Very, very important, I think. But in the long run, I don't think it changes much. I don't think there's going to be more people in the end game. There might be slightly an increase, right? I'm talking like half in, half out circle. I don't think there's going to be way more people. I don't think it'll change much. The only thing is like it's really annoying that you can't build around it, which sucks. But people will adapt to that as well.
Just build wider out to try to get like a giant. See that this is now where those big giant bases they originally envisioned are going to start because you can't. There's going to be a radius around the van, and it's going to change everything.
Yeah, that's totally what they want. Yeah.
Exactly what I expected.
I'm not. I wouldn't at all be surprised if we see that. If somebody actually does do that, maybe not in a competitive game because it's. But actually, maybe. Yeah.
It takes what 10. I haven't actually played with the respawn van yet, or used it rather. I played with it obviously this afternoon, but it takes a long time to res. So I don't see why you kind of have to build around it, right? Yeah, I kind of have to build like a wide base, definitely. Unless it's really early game, right? Just take the risk.
Yeah, and well, I believe they had fixed a tweak in this update, but originally the van was pretty loud too, especially when you were using it. It was very loud, so you can hear it from quite a distance. And if you hear that, your first thought would be to push because that's a team with a missing member right there. So. Thing that does make it, I think, more viable is that you get your teammate. It's not like if you were playing in, say, creative, where if you have to respawn, you come in on a glider, or they have it set on the ground for a respawn point. So you have it on the van. You're going to spawn on top of. You're not going to come in on a glider, possibly get shot out of the air, or waste another 10 seconds on your teammate that's pushing. I do like that.
I love the fact that they add mats to your body as well, so like you can.
You're not totally useless.
So you can actually
back,
do something. But at the same time, there's always like, especially in the situation that it's going to be used in competitive, which is early game, you almost never find past like second zone. If you're getting a respawn off, you are the luckiest dude alive, right? But yeah, I think early game it's super super good, and then it's a good addition overall. I think. I don't know how it's going to play out, though.
A huge point of talk if a team does use it, bring somebody back and then go on to win one of those games or score big, because just thinking on the fact that you come back with only 100 health and that great pistol, your team, if you can't say, just for example, if say the storm's moving, you don't have time to get back on your original loot, you have to re-shield up, find all new materials and all new weapons too, or your teammate's going to have to split them. So that's a lot to come back from.
But again, like in situations where you where you'd actually use it in competitive, you're gonna have your old loot like sitting nearby, or at least the people that you killed, right?
Sure, exactly.
So I don't think that's in competitive. Again, in pubs it's totally different. In pubs it's a great addition. It's very useful all the way until the end game. Like it's sick. And there it would have the implications that you're talking about, right? Where you would have to go farm back up. You would have to do all this stuff and whatever. Yeah. In pubs it's a completely different ballgame.
If anything, you just don't want one of those end circles, one of those last moving ones to move through that van area. You're going to have a tough time trying to protect yourself.
Yep, that's for sure. Kind of why I'm a little frustrated that you can't build around it. It's just like stuff like that, right?
We came a long way. Remember when you couldn't build around trees or cars or anything? Oh my
No.
god! Oh,
I started later than that, man.
Those were dark
fences.
days, man. Those were
I was
dark
fences. Yeah, fences were the bane of my existence.
Yeah, I remember that. Dark days indeed.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see if anybody does get to use it, like you were saying, Tyler, Trooper. For respawning a teammate, maybe getting a win off that, and that duo actually manages to pull themselves back into it. That would be cool. And definitely, like you were saying,
whoever manages to get the teammate back, I'm instantly rooting for them in that game. That resiliency that it's going to take to pull that off. I can't wait to see somebody do that.
I think you're going to see it a lot. A lot. I think every game there's going to be somebody or a few people who get revived, right? And I think that they're going to win the game a lot, right?
It's way too useful to not take the chance on, I think, because you have just putting yourself out risk. If it does seem clear the path to originally go for that van, it seems way better to take that risk than trying to risk going into the late game by yourself. Although sometimes if it is duos, you do have the advantage in a sense. I know you don't have a teammate, but you're only worrying about yourself. So there is that. If you're more of an aggressive player, you can kind of help yourself out in those late game situations where people are going to be running around. You could probably pick up a lot of quick kills that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you lose your teammate, a lot of players tend to play a little bit more on the aggressive side anyway. But I'd say at this stage, you might not see that as much. So you're going to see a lot more of the van usage instead.
Yeah, I would agree. It does appear you've gotten a real true episode with us here, Balla, because we're 50 minutes in almost, guys, and we're still on the first topic. So
nice.
This is very standard for us.
Hey, man, I like to talk.
Yeah, so do we. That's the problem. I mean, it's not a problem. It's a good thing, but it does make it so that the later sections have to kind of get rushed through a little bit, but that should be all right.
You know what?
We've had a good talk so far.
Before we fully segue to the next part, I just want to mention one more quick thing about, because we were talking to you, Ball, about how it was doing casting, especially with the World Cup and stuff. And it was one of your first official broadcasts being on. And I've broadcasted. I do the Gears Pro circuit for Gears of War, and I've done some casting for Fortnite at Microsoft Store events. I've done some amateur Call of Duty, and I worked with Throoper, with David, actually at the Halo Classic this past January. And one of the things that people don't tell you, one of the unexpected things if you're going to do casting for the first time is you get your makeup done. That was so unexpected. Did you think that too? Like, oh damn, this is like way, like I was taken aback the first time, but this is like next level stuff right now. It's like you're making me. I was like, man, I feel like I need this.
Dude, you're not supposed to tell people that. They're just supposed to think we look that good all the time.
I know I broke the illusion, I know, but for me, that was the most surprising aspect of the whole thing.
Trooper.
Nah, man, I was ready for it.
It was just a real just that whole moving up in those tiers, like working for the actual production, like behind Epic. It must have been like a really, like I said, making your job so much easier when you have like those awesome tools to work with, the analyst board and everything. That's pretty exciting stuff. You guys covered a lot of great ground in the event this week. For the duos, I'm even more excited how you guys are going to do it.
Yeah, I'm hyped too. I don't know how I didn't cast any of the duo events yet, so it should be fun. I'm not necessarily. I don't know if I'm doing this weekend, so we'll see.
I got 10 weeks of action though, so plenty of time.
Yeah, I'll be back late for sure. So I'm definitely gonna do a duo event. And obviously we did duos at Secret and Katowice. But yeah, the respawn van in that is gonna be interesting. But yeah, in terms of the makeup, the only weird, like I wasn't expecting how much they put on your face, like because at Secret they did it and it was just like random little stuff, and I was like, okay, that's nothing. Like she's just cleaning my face or something like that. But at ESL it was like, all over. I was like,
just caked on, yeah. Like and sometimes that was the one thing I remember that was part of the production. I remember just stuck with me. That was the one part I never thought about.
My wife is pretty into makeup, so I was prepared.
You were already a master at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, I know that's a beauty blender, that's mascara, like all that stuff. I knew.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't prepared for it, and it was definitely I gained a whole new level of respect for women after that. Being like, oh, they're like, you feel your face, like you're aware of it, you're cognizant of it. You're like, I don't want to drink or eat anything, it might mess something up. Like, how do you?
I'm so lucky I'm not. I'd have to check another bag going to events, dude. I'm so glad, man. So glad.
Oh man. But we are that. I mean, we did kind of that. Actually, does work as a good segue because we were going to talk about the results from this past week and a little bit of a look ahead to this next week. So I think we have a graphic with everybody who qualified this first week. So yeah, we have Slaya, who I believe was actually the first person to qualify, right?
Yep.
So he was from Oceania, and a bunch of these other names. So let's hop in here. And are there any names first that surprised you? Are there any names that you expected? What does this list kind of tell to you?
There's a bunch of names that surprised me, mostly out of EU.
Okay.
EU had the most not like typical people that you would see, right? You don't see Mongrel, you don't see Mitro, you don't see like a bunch of the only person there, like Stompy, everybody knows is really freaking good. And Benji Fishy, obviously,
Yes,
and
sir.
Prisionero has done well in the last couple events as well. But Bella, a lot of people know who he is. He's a very good player. And he's done well in a lot of the customs tournaments and all that stuff. So people know him. I was not expecting him to qualify, and I'm super happy that he did. I mean, I'm happy that everybody did. I've never heard of Letwick. Nate, I've heard of. Diego, I've never heard of. DRG, I've never heard of. Prisionero, I haven't heard much of besides the fact that he qualified this weekend and placed well in a few other weekends, right? Yeah, man, freaking a lot of people. In terms of the NA one, everybody, it was like the complete opposite, right? It was like everybody that I expected to qualify qualified. Except Vivid was a big surprise to me. And Snow I hadn't heard of before this weekend either. He's freaking awesome. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's something we've touched on a couple times on this show is how many good players there are that still maybe don't have a name or nobody knows, or if they are known, they're maybe only kind of known to the hardcore competitive players and community. They don't have that giant fan base that, a Tfue or a Ninja has developed for themselves. So it's really, I'm really excited for this World Cup because I think it's going to give a lot of people who deserve that platform and who deserve the ability to kind of monetize how good they've gotten at this game. Not only are they going to make a lot of money at the World Cup itself, but hopefully this, is a launching pad for them to build their own following and really start to, develop on Twitch and all those sorts of things that can really give them a lengthy career, right? Because everybody knows that competing in esports can be hard to do it for a long time. You kind of got a short window where you can really put in all that time, all that effort, and then afterwards, it's just you need to kind of slowly transition to other things in the space. I find. Trooper, were there any surprises there for you?
Balla was on the nose about Stompy. He played out of his mind, I think, in the EU region. Qualifying, definitely expected him to do so after a lot of the games that I saw him play. But I remember him being on the stream. He actually had a game where he finished third place with 14 eliminations in the game. He actually accumulated 29 points in that one single game. And a third of the kills that he scored were with only 27 players remaining. He actually was going through the final circles while they were moving and didn't play the high ground, the highest point, shooting people on the gliders. He didn't play the low ground. He was playing right through the center of where all of the builds were coming through, where the bulk of them were coming through. And I noticed that was a really smart spot for him to pick up a lot of the eliminations because he was catching people mid-transition between catching the gliders, trying to regain high ground. He was catching a lot of those people in the back while he was moving with the storm. So his positioning in that game was really, really amazing, and he deserved every one of those points, and especially his position to get into the qualifiers. So I really liked seeing how aggressive he was able to play in that portion of the game, and just he slayed out completely. The Ghost guys played really, really well too. Every highlight I saw from them was insane. It was worthy of clip of the week type stuff. It was next level stuff.
Yeah,
Bizzle
definitely.
played well. Bizzle was another surprise for me. Like, I know Vivid and Bizzle, like, obviously we expect them to do well. What I didn't expect them to do well was so good at this format right out of the bat, because they have been playing not great at this format this entire time, right? This entire time, throughout pop-ups, everything. They've been getting more and more frustrated, more and more like super upset. Like they were getting more down. And I talk about how attitude is very important, but but when push comes to shove, I guess when the pressure's on, they just play out of their mind. Bizzle has done well at every single event he's ever played with. I don't know why I doubted him, and he proved me wrong this weekend. Vivid, Vivid, obviously he has the potential and everything, and I know he can qualify. It was just a matter of if he was going to perform, because like summer skirmish. Like he performed well at Secret Skirmish, which is like his resurgence for me. Like I was like, okay, Vivid's coming back now. He got like 5th in Summer Skirmish or something like, or not, or sorry, Secret Skirmish. And then Katowice, they played very, very poorly, right? With Poach, and then they switched up the duos. They started slanging out 72 hours and Vivid, and I hadn't seen much of him in solos at all because he doesn't stream anymore. Like he has fully committed to the competitive grind, and it paid off. So good for him. I'm glad. That was the one guy I'm like, yes, like I love Vivid so much. He's so awesome. So yeah. Prizes for sure.
Yeah, and I mean to do it in the first week too. That's not only does that take a lot of pressure off you, but also I mean that says a lot. Like everybody is still trying to qualify. Literally everybody needed to qualify. You were the first people to do it. You won the week where everybody was trying their hardest. Because now obviously there's some players out of the player pool, right? Like probably won't see some of these guys playing in these cups the next few weeks. Because I mean maybe they will, but they're definitely not going to be playing with the same intensity that they just were when they needed to qualify and everything was on the line, right? So. It says a lot to qualify in the first week. So, huge props to those guys.
Yep.
I was really impressed with the clip actually from Slaya. I think you actually retweeted it as well.
Yeah.
If I'm correct. This is just nuts.
Filthy.
Like he just killed everybody.
Yeah. That's an apt name for the clip.
I think that people don't realize that this qualified him, and he qualified by 1 point. Like
that is crazy.
Like if he doesn't get one of these kills and doesn't last as long as he does, he doesn't qualify. Like this is clutch. And this right here, like Sundown pointed out a million times, right here when he falls, he actually clips the side of this and he would have died. Like
100%.
This insane. Like
this is
so much goes right in this clip.
This is one of the best endgame runs I've ever seen, and that's straight up. I mean, because he just did so much, and like you said, qualified by 1 single point. That's clutch.
Was this his last game too? That he had to was able to play.
Yep.
Oh wow.
This is his last game.
That's next level. I mean, props to him and
plain sight too.
That just shows you again that like the players who make these things, it's not just about how skilled they are, but it's also about that mental fortitude, that mental ability to really clutch it out in a game that, matters so much and everything's on the line. And like, look at some of these shots. You're like, are you kidding me?
Bananas. Yeah, last one was just like, okay,
I've watched this like 6 times and it still blows my mind. Like some of these people are so good at this game. It's actually absolutely ridiculous. So, mad props to him. This was definitely one of my favorite clips from the entire weekend.
I even like his thought to go into the storm when he got hit with the boogie bomb to take damage and turn the boogie bomb effect off too.
300 IQ and to do it that fast, like nuts.
Oh, right? Yeah, that's some clutch play coming out of him. So who else do you expect to see qualify? Are there any other big names that you're like, this guy 100%, mark my words, you'll bet the Fortnite community right now that we'll see this guy at Worlds?
Animal.
Okay.
Some people will be like, why Animal? Why don't you say Aspect? Animal's stone cold, and he always plays consistently, and he's always super sick. Animal's nuts. And Aspect, I feel like he is nuts as well, but he has a consistency issue, especially when the pressure's on. And I think we saw that in the finals yesterday, or not yesterday, this weekend. I don't think he adapted to what he needed to do, right? He played really well in the semifinals. He played out of his mind well. And then I think like he had trouble with how many people, copied him. And I think that's happened multiple times for him now. But yeah, Animal will qualify.
Okay. That's the only guy that you can think of?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I've been really high on Animal for a while. I could definitely probably name some other people but I just not off the top of my head.
Okay. Do you think we're going to see some of the big giant streamers qualify? People like Ninja or Tfue, or do you think any of those guys are going to get no?
Nope. Tfue's proved he doesn't care. So if he cared, I think he would, but he has proved he doesn't care. Again, we're talking about solos because in duos, I could see, Tfue and Cloak qualify again because Cloak is just such a good IGL and he makes Tfue care and he makes him forget about some of the things that he normally would care about. Like if he's playing solo, there's no way to recover him getting stream sniped, right? And he proved he didn't care because he played with no delay, and that was primarily just to freaking be able to say that, oh, I didn't qualify because of stream snipers, or I didn't qualify because I didn't care, right? I played with no delay. Hey.
Yeah. Do you think that's just an excuse? Or do you think
It's not an excuse. It's a business decision again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I mean, we touched on that last week, where some of these guys are making so much money that unless they were to actually win the whole world championship, it doesn't make sense for them to leave and not stream for those days, because they would miss out on so many viewers that it's just, which is absolutely insane. Like, you've been around esports, you were saying, for a long time too. Like, to think that people are now, I mean, esports, it used to be the only way to make money was the actual tournaments. And now the tournaments, like, the developers can't even keep up with the amount of money these guys can make from just playing from their houses, right? It's
I mean, when a guy like Tfue is like super involved and was made from the competitive scene, can make the decision not to go to a tournament because I'm going to make more money at home. That's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy where we're at right now.
It's a mad world. Mad world.
That shows you that these players, these top tier streamers for Fortnite, that haven't or that don't need to put in all that focus or put in all that time and that heartache to try and qualify. Like, it's all about building your brand as a player, and that's what a lot of these players have done, to the point where they're investing in themselves more than, you know, trying to give back to the game in a sense. Like, they don't have to put the time in. Really, if they just play the game enough, that's good enough for their community, and that's, you know, a lot of these players are in a good spot to where they were able to get into that position. So that's where it becomes really important. So when you're building your brand, you got to remember things like that, especially, you know, thinking out when you're tweeting certain things and just keeping an eye out for, you know, how you know, treat other players or directly to developers, how you interact with those types of people too. So you gotta think about that type of stuff and to get yourself into those positions. Because right now, I mean, the players that you're going to see qualify, these players are the blood, the sweat, the tears. These players are grinding it out. And yeah, the top tier streamers, it's just a different tier of just difficulty where, you know, they really don't have to put in that effort. And, you know, playing with delay and all that stuff, it can definitely hinder their stream growth. So I could see why some of them will make that decision to maybe step aside.
Yeah, and
they don't have anything to prove, really.
The numbers showed that it was a good decision, right? He had 100 plus K viewers all weekend.
Absolutely.
Like ridiculous numbers. And he's a freaking great player. So, you know, I just don't think he's been keeping up with the scrim scene enough that he would be able to actually, like, do super well here. He'd have to pop off. And, you know, it's possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. There's only 5 weeks, right?
Yeah. Only 5 opportunities. So it's tough out there for these guys, but I definitely understand the decision. Can't fault them at all. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see who else qualifies. I'm looking forward to the next few weeks. Let's hop into the hot take section here. So there was 2 subjects that we kind of wanted to discuss with you. We've kind of touched on both of these already ourselves, but obviously, you know, we don't have your Fortnite experience or expertise at our disposal. So we thought now that we do, we'd bounce some of these ideas off you a little bit here. So the first one is, how does Fortnite get made as competitive as possible? So, you know, we're talking gun balance, mechanics, materials balance, and how do you balance that? I mean, we've talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the episode, but how do you balance that competitive and casual, like the nuance, I guess, that goes into making sure that both communities are happy? Like, how do you keep them both happy while also making the game as competitive as possible for the competitive community? Are there certain guns that you think are the best for that? Is there certain, you know, vehicles that you think were best suited for it? Like, what would be your opinion on how to make the game based on everything that Fortnite's put into the game up to this date? How do you make it as competitive as possible in one mode, essentially?
Play on the patch that was right before, or the EU Winter Royale patch, where there was no shenanigans. There was very little that, you know, there's no planes. I think there was corrupted zones. Yeah, there was definitely corrupted zones, and you could use that rotate still, but there was no glider redeploy. And it was just the first edition of the scavenger mode, which was just mats on death and the mat cap and the increased harvesting rate and siphon, obviously. That patch was the best, and just don't change it.
So would you
that's
have
my
like,
dream, man.
So you wouldn't touch that patch at all? There'd be nothing you do to that patch. Like, if you could, you know, if I gave you the magic wand
have
right
arena
now,
mode. I'd have a ranked mode, arena mode. I would do like tournaments just like they're doing right now and play on that patch and be like, woohoo.
But you think that gameplay was perfect? Or,
I mean, it wasn't perfect. I could always like adjust, like, you know, like the zone distances and stuff like that. Like the loot table could be changed a little bit. But yeah, I'm of the opinion that games will never be perfect, right? There's always going to be a way to make something better, but it also will change it such that it's not going to be the same anymore, right? So like
Right.
if I tweak the distances of the zones, sure, like that changes it, but it's also like it's not the same anymore. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't really care what patch I play on, right? I just want to play the game, and I just we can always optimize whatever patch we play on, whether it's any game, right? This happened. But the reason I have this attitude is because back in 1.6 there was this crouch ducking thing, which was an exploit. Technically, it was like a bug, an unintended thing that everybody was using for months and months and months and months, and then Valve for some reason patches it out. Out of the blue, like it was 1.6. They never touched that game ever, and then they patched it out. And I was just like, well, I don't really care. Let's just adapt and just play this game. Like it's a different game, but whatever. I don't care. I just want to compete, man. I don't care at all.
That's fair.
The only thing that sucks is when there's a patch that makes it hard for it to be competitive, right? So if somebody can win multiple times and there can be a clear winner in any game, then it's competitive. Like I'm good with that. Like if for some reason there's way too much movement in the zones, like it goes way too far, and there's never anybody who's ever going to be able to do it multiple times, because it really depends on if you have a rift or not, and that's completely whatever, dependent on, especially if the loot table works in such a way that it's awkward for you to actually have a rift, or it's random or lucky, then but I don't care what I play.
That's
spoken
fair.
like a true competitive player.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Guess so.
I can back that. I just, especially with your StarCraft background, that's a little bit surprising to me, because I know StarCraft was one of the games that was most infamous for just like, here's a patch, we'll see you guys in like a year and a half. Like they just kind of like left it, and I mean the players had to figure out their own counters.
Yeah, there was a point in that game where it was like, I hate this patch because this is the only thing that's viable, and I'm going to do this every single time, and I'm always going to be fighting this every single time. And I'm speaking about Brulor and Fester back in Wings of Liberty. It was awful. It really sucked, especially in certain matchups. For my matchup, it was fine. I was like, okay, this is still fun. Like I was still getting to a point where I wasn't the best, and like I wasn't just either gonna just die to it because the players I was playing are at that level where you just die to it. So I didn't care then either, to be honest, but I could definitely see the arguments of why this sucked. Because it was like every single game they would go Broodlord and Fester, and you would try your best to do the best comp that would fight it, and it would just not be enough because it was overpowered, and that sucks.
Yeah. Well, thankfully Fortnite hasn't had anything quite like that yet, except maybe the Stormwing and crashing into you. What else?
Blade. Come on.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Jesus.
Dude, I had that deleted from my memory, man. I can't.
No, it's always going to be there.
Now it is. Now it is. It's going right back. I'm having
shing, shing.
Oh god. I think it would be fun for a limited time mode if they did just maybe they have done this and I missed it.
They did, yeah.
All swords.
They did, yeah.
Oh no, not all swords, but there was a sword fight where you could have multiple swords in the game.
Oh.
No, fight LTM or something like that.
Swords. Give everybody an Infinity Blade, and that's only an Infinity Blade. Let's see how that goes. Game of Thrones mixed with. Right. You're welcome, Epic. There's a limited time mode suggestion.
I just turn everybody into the Ice King, and he has an Infinity Blade.
Right? Why not? The other thing that we wanted to talk about, I guess, a little bit was the competitive scoring system. So I know that like with a lot of other esports, it's very straightforward to kind of figure out this is how this is going to work. You capture the flag more than them. You kill them more than they kill you. Like it's a team game or what have you, right? Battle Royales were still, I think Fortnite's done by far the best job of figuring this out. I think they've approached it with the most seriousness of trying to figure out what's the ideal system. Do you like where the system's at now? Do you like where the points are awarded now? Would you tweak it at all? Or how do you feel about the competitive scoring and placement system that's currently in place?
I have some tweaks that I like and I think could be good, but same answer, right? I don't care. Like, I'm just going to play whatever format I have, and most people will, and people are going to argue about it. There's literally never going to be a perfect format in this game, I don't think, like there would be in basketball, right? I don't think there ever will be, just because people are so opinionated. And I think the reason why in other games it was straightforward, like you said, was right? People didn't care as much back then. Like when Counter-Strike came up with this format, it went through maybe 3 different iterations before it was like, okay, yeah, we're just gonna play MR16 and switch at 15 rounds. Like,
Yeah.
um, I yeah. And so the only thing that changed in like Counter-Strike formats was the overtime rules and stuff like that. And there was, yeah, like overtime rules, you would start with different amount of money. It would be different amount of rounds per half and whatever. And then what else? Oh, and like in Source days when they had the TV show CGS. I don't know if you guys know that, but it was definitely they were trying to make it TV friendly, and that didn't work at all because everybody's accustomed to one thing and they're like, yeah, this is good. But in Fortnite, the issue is that everybody's so darn opinionated, and all the streamers have made, like Daquan has made it a thing that we don't play aggressive enough and we want more action and blah, 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 blah. And so everybody has their opinions on, oh, it needs to be more aggressive or it needs to be more, campy. We need to have bigger end games. Otherwise, it's not fun to watch. So that's why it's opinionated. I think right now we're in a good place. I don't think it's right for the open mode, the public, like everybody can play type of thing. I wish we had more tiers to that, right? Where it was not just Champions Division and you could derank from Champions Division. That'd be nice too, so that we could have the best players in the game at all times, possibly, because semifinals are trash. Like they are awful to watch. They're awful to play because everybody just rushes each other because everybody's like, oh yeah, you can just do really well if you just W key. And to some extent that's true, especially in the finals too. But that's because the quality of like what everybody's thinking is all, oh yeah, W key is good, right? It's like a community thing. And I talk about this in scrims a lot too. Like the reason why Pratt Court scrims or like Atlantis, any of the scrim servers that we had ended up going poorly was because all the pros just W keyed because they were like, oh yeah, I want a W key because these guys are worse than me, so whatever. And the games were good. If there was no pros, the game were better. Like in FMPL back in the day, if there was no pros, the games were way better because they wouldn't W key and we would just have good practice. So it definitely has like a community mindset type of thing to it as well. But in terms of tweaks, we need more placements. Every placement should count and every kill should count. It might be complicated. It might be awkward in terms of telling a story. And we already experienced that at ESL a little bit. And I think it was actually fine. So I think we can go a little further with the ESL format. But I don't like split win conditions. So I don't like big bonus, for example, because in big bonus, you can just get a freak ton of kills and tie with, somebody who gets a bunch of wins and a bunch of kills, right? Because big bonus rewarded that, and you could have games like that. So that made it so that you would have this situation where you're playing the game, you're like, yeah, okay, we're going end game. I got 2 rift to goes, I got a launch pad, we're good, we got this. And you're like, you're hyped with your duo or whatever, you're legit chilling. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, look, there's a guy ahead of us. Let's go this way. And you can't tell whether that's Aiden or whether that's Bizzle, right? And if it's Aiden, you have to play differently because he's going to W key you and push you because he wants the points for kills. Whereas Bizzle is like, oh, I'm going to go for the win, right? And that sucks because you can't figure it out. You won't know. And all of a sudden you have a game ruined, right? Your game is over because you've just had to storm fight Aiden, right? And I no knock to Aiden, right? I like his style and he played those formats well, but the reason why it was the way that it is because of the format. I don't like the fact that there's multiple different ways to earn points. Like everybody should have to play the same way because otherwise, same with like the money incentives, right? Oh, there's 10K on the line for getting the most kills. How does that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't.
Yeah.
That doesn't fly in any other game, right? Unless it's like a silly challenge thing, like like WSOE, right? There was the person who gets the most views on a Twitch clip gets money, right? That was cool because it had nothing to do with the game, really.
Yeah, but even then, it kind of does because then everyone's going to be going for highlight clips, right? They see you in a weird spot, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to go for some crazy," and that does end up affecting the game because you might die doing that, or you might try something that you wouldn't have tried. So. Yep. It's I mean, I definitely Battle Royale is tricky. I think it's very, very tricky to figure out because on the one hand, if you only reward wins, then you get everybody camping and trying to not fight under any circumstances. And let's be real, nobody wants to just watch people hiding. Like nobody wants to just watch not fighting, right? You do want to see fighting and battles and that sort of stuff. So it's a very delicate balance. But on the other hand, like you're saying, if you reward kills too heavily, then people go, oh, why would I try and win the game? If I can just kill everybody in the first like 20 or 30 people, yeah, the best people are going to be at the end of the game. Why I don't want to fight those guys. Those are the best players in this game. So it's tough.
Yeah, and everybody, it's battle royale, so everybody has a different play style that they prefer. So you're like you said, Balla, you're never gonna have. I don't think the game will be in a perfect state according to everybody. You have people that prefer to W key. You have people prefer playing more defensively. You have people that just like pub stomping. So you'll never it'll be hard pressed to find everybody be on the same even ground because with social media everybody's even more vocal, and it's everybody can back certain opinions if they agree with them. But I think that it's kind of like in a push-pull situation where too many pros want too many different things, and there just needs to be that even ground that has to be decided on. And I mean, with these qualifiers, I fully expect. I mean, a lot of people were really debating or thinking on how far in advance the finals are. And I believe if the math is right on the weeks, it'll be played on the opening week for season 10, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we potentially could not be seeing the finals of the World Cup for another technically 2 seasons. And the game will be, who knows how different it'll be then. So I think that the whole process is right now is they're using these qualifiers. I'm not saying that they're using these as their test, but by the end of the 10 weeks, I think just debating on how, what everyone is really, talking about and how they prefer different things for these updates, I think we might see the perfect version of the game, or as perfect as we'll get when we've hit the finals. I can tell from, at least in my opinion, the way that everything seems on their roadmap, it looks like that might be the way that it's coming. So I mean, they might have other things up their sleeve, but in my opinion, that's how it looks like it could be. So I mean, I would expect the actual World Cup itself to be a really a much more ironed out event itself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's gonna take.
Don't think that they would want their baby that they've been working on for so long to be ruined by an Infinity Blade. So
no,
hopefully not. Hopefully not. I have faith in them. I think they've been trying the best they can, and for the most part, obviously they've made a couple missteps here and there, but they've done like the Infinity Blade, namely. But overall, it's been very positive. They've listened to the community very well. They've tweaked things, in the direction generally that makes people happy. Generally, obviously, it's impossible to keep everybody happy, especially in a community as diverse as Fortnite, where you have some people who are very casual and some people who are hyper competitive, right? But overall, I think they've done a good job. So I'm excited to see what will happen in the future and how they're going to set things up for the coming weeks. But guys, clips of the week.
Let's do it.
Ready for this?
I'm excited. Some of these clips were dirty this week.
Right?
They're getting better and better.
Yeah, guys, if you want,
happening.
Okay, so we're gonna show you 4 clips, and we're gonna vote. Chat has voted, Twitter has voted, and guys, if you want your clip to possibly be nominated, send them to myself, send them to Throoper, or send them to UGC, or send them to all of us, honestly. And we will next week. Every week we do this. We have clips of the week, and at the end of the season, we're gonna be doing a clip of the season from all the clips of the week, throwing that together, and the winner will get something cool. I'm not sure what yet, but it'll be something cool. So if you want something cool and it has to do with Fortnite, then submit your clips. Go out there, clip hunt, get nasty stuff for us. All right, let's kick this off. Clip number 1. Dun dun dun. Backinator. What do we got here?
Oh, he just ended that dirty. Oh man. Came in and I looked up. I'm like, oh, what is he doing here? I called at the perfect time.
I mean, we were talking about this the very first day that the Flint Knock came out. And,
that's hilarious. We were like, maybe there would be an application for double Flint Knock to boost you up and then the other to shoot. And it worked wonders right there. That's
sometimes
impressive.
We're right. I mean, sometimes we're wrong and sometimes we're right. It's nice to be
that
right.
tree might have even helped him a little bit too and knock him into the right path for the shot. That was that guy is so pissed right at the top there. Oh man.
Oh,
he's so mad.
Feels bad, man. Feels bad.
Dirty.
Yeah. So that was Backinator, guys. Shout out to all of these guys for their clips. I mean, that clip is pretty gross. All of these clips are gross. So, if you don't win, there's no shame in that. Number 2, the Teds.
Oh, this one, man. What happened?
Wait, why did he die twice?
I had to
No,
watch
that's
that
people.
3 times.
Oh, okay, it's 2 different people. Okay.
Yeah, he
Look through
kills-
the
kills
window.
2 different people.
The window.
Oh, no way.
You see the drone in the bathroom? Oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
That guy was about to creep on that.
It's so weird
that,
because I was looking at the kill feed or whatever, the little notification that says you killed him, and it looks like it's the same name. Like
Yeah.
it actually
He's
looks
probably
like it's the
what
same
is
name.
th- this is one of those zombies he probably thought coming at him. Like,
Yeah.
Definitely a little bit of luck in that clip. I don't think he even knew. Maybe he did, but I don't even think he knew the guy in the bathroom was there. But hey, sometimes you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good, right?
he probably heard two sets of footsteps down there, and he was probably like, "Man, what is with the audio in this game?" And then dropped down. There's actually 2 guys down there. Is what the heck?
He's just
I'm just
complaining like, "Oh,
he hit a 170 pump from that range, man.
Yeah, some people hit straight on the head, and they swear it doesn't even do damage. And that guy didn't even know a guy was there, and he killed him.
That was
people
some
just have
range.
perfect luck.
yeah, that was an impressive shot, a very impressive shot." So good job to the Teds there, hitting those. Number 3, we have Deluxed Eclipse.
Yes, I like where this is going already.
Did he even see him before he boosted in the air?
I don't. Maybe.
What?
Maybe. And then he comes over here. He's just, he's got to finish the man off. But
And
his shot was, yeah, he did. He saw him right there on the when he was kind of jumping up. It looked like onto the, I'm not sure what to call that, scouting tower.
the real player in this clip is this guy's teammate that got down. No help whatsoever. Just nowhere to be found at all.
Yeah.
But then again, how can you plan for something like this? Like that,
No,
that's
you
just
can't.
dirty.
Yeah.
Controller player too, might I add? Might I just throw that out there on the sticks and able to hit a shot that steady? That's
Yep,
that's
on the
pretty damn
Xbox.
impressive.
On the Xbox. God bless. Console players unite.
The Boombo is so much fun, man.
Yeah.
It really
it
is. It really is. I love that thing.
It might be a little bit on the. This might be a little weird going to competitive, but who knows?
We'll see. Did you see anything that stood out to you from this week, like the solos with the boombo? I almost called it the boombox.
Yeah, I think it was somebody from the Brazil games, just like hit like 3 random headshots. Like it was really nice. It was like boom, 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 like instantly. Like one guy this way, one guy this way, one guy that way. It was amazing. Yeah.
Nice. Clip number 4. Speaking of multiple headshots, Danger is a bot. Danger, I'm sorry, sir, but you are lying. You are not a bot. This was ridiculous.
Oh, the clip ain't over.
No.
Oh,
It's not. It's not.
Okay, I see you.
Yikes.
Yo, I think
What
there's a
mode
guy
is
on
this?
that mountain down there. No, that's just a bush, bro. Pop.
Yeah, I'm
Oh
sorry
my
about the video
God.
quality. I'm not really sure what happened with his clip. It, that was the original,
This is
the original version. But
this is one shot mode, right?
is
Or
it?
whatever it's called.
Oh,
It
yeah,
must
looks
be
like it.
because-
It looks
yeah,
like a
because he
sniper
has
mode,
low
he has all
gravity.
snipers, and
He
he
does
has
have
all
low gravity.
snipers. Yeah. So this must be that, but it's
You know what?
still like just
Dirty,
both of
man,
these
dirty.
shots. I
If
mean,
anything, this clip pointed out to me that there's that serious meta that a lot of people are thinking, like rolling endgame with ballers and wearing a bush, so you have even more protection now. It's like, man, when I see those people, like, just ahead of the curve.
all right, guys. Number 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat, and let us know who you think won. But I think we've gotten the Twitter answers. We put this out, so again, if you follow Tilted Talk Show, there you see it on Twitter. You'll see this come out every single week. We will put out the clips of the week a little bit before the episode. You guys can vote, and like I said, especially either submit your clips to us or vote and help somebody win something cool if you don't think you can win something cool yourself. But either way, we want to know what you guys think. And clip number 4, the double sniper is the winner. Danger is a bot. So congrats, Danger. You are certainly not a bot. That sniper is ridiculous, sir. And that one was a headshot, too. That did the
Yeah.
full
Yep.
187. This one was only a body shot, but honestly, when you have to time the guy flying through the air, I'll give you that.
Yeah, he was in full skydive too, so he was going full speed. That was impressive. Able to figure out exactly where he had to put that crosshair.
Yeah.
Man, I got a soft spot for that clip for the Teds though, man. I'm a little upset he got the least amount of votes. Maybe everyone was confused as us as what happened there, but that was something I've never seen before. I know it wasn't skill, but I mean, I love those clips that just completely catch me off guard.
Yeah, I like that one too. But the flint knock is just, woo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
you gotta love the end games. The ones that put the cherry on top of the games. Those ones are super impressive.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Because you pull it off to get the win, that makes things all the sweeter, right? Okay, guys. So let's get into the chat questions. We already answered one of them because it just kind of worked perfectly. It was actually the same question I was going to ask, but we have a couple of other questions as well. So we have one from Blinker FN. Who are your top 3 players from NA and top 3 players from EU?
Aspects, Saf, and Bizzle in NA. Actually, you know what? Yeah, orders doesn't matter too much, and there's probably people who could sneak in there as well. EU, Mongrel, Benji, and Mitro. There you go. Nice. Those are really easy in EU, and NA is like a little difficult, I think. And they're both freaking difficult. It's again, this game is so like 100 players, remember, and not every single event is going to win. It is not like that type of game, and obviously, it really depends. Like if you end up in a tournament where it's Bizzle, Demo, and X2 Twins are in there, and they end up both fighting Divot, then that tournament might not go as well for them unless they adapt, right? So it depends on who's in what game with each other and all sorts of different variables. But usually top 3, top 5, I'm like okay with saying. I could never say top 1. That doesn't make sense to me in this game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Top.
The guys who are at the top is you can kind of like identify that top tier, but it's really hard to figure out who amongst that top tier is actually the god.
Yeah.
There's nobody. There's no faker in Fortnite, not yet. Anyway, maybe one day. Okay, actually, Balla, this one's just specifically for you. Are we going to see you compete again?
Yep.
In the World Cup
nice.
Qualifiers, or are you just casting? So you're planning on trying to
any weekend that I'm not going to cast, I will play. 100%.
Okay. Interesting.
That doesn't mean that I'm going to qualify or that I'm playing very seriously, but I will be playing as much as I can. I want to keep a top high level, and I think I'm still very good. So
okay. Well, hopefully you do qualify. That would be cool.
That'd be weird. I'd be like, what do I do?
Maybe you could ask them to cast while you play your own game and be like, I'm awesome. I just got an elimination. Maybe that'll work somehow.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, that question was from Ella Hi, ELLHI. Elahi.
My boy.
I told you guys I'm really bad at names. I'm trying my best here, but reading is hard, so bear with me. If I mispronounce your name,
Fortnite caster. It's over.
Oh man,
it's way too hard.
Oh man, I saw you and Golden Boy kind of giving some people a little bit of crap, going, "Hey guys, you guys are really good, but maybe different names, please."
Yeah, please, Louise.
Okay. And the last question that came in, Blinker FN. It was a question for all of us. If you had to predict the winner of the Solo World Cup right now, who would you choose? Now, that just kind of flies in the face of what we just said in terms of it's so hard to predict a solo at one man. But
we don't even know who qualified yet.
We don't know. But that's what makes this fun. I mean, here's the thing about predictions. If you're actually predicting things, you're always doing it wrong. Yeah, the game's going to be completely different. Like, one of the guys who's qualified is not even going to make it to the World Cup. Something's going to happen. They're going to have to fly in an import who didn't even get to qualify. He was maybe number 2, and then he's going to win the whole thing. Yeah. I'm going with that.
My prediction, person that wins this World Cup, we probably haven't even seen them yet. We probably haven't even heard of them yet. Like they're gonna show up in these late qualifiers. Trust me, they're gonna come out of the woodwork. I doubt we've even heard of the person that walks away top spot at World Cup.
Nope. Nope. I do not believe that.
No?
Nope. No chance.
So you think
No
you know
chance. I don't
you
think
think
the
it's gonna
scene
be
is
somebody you
developed
know?
enough. I
Oh.
think it's somebody we know.
Okay.
Like eventually, I feel like we're gonna replace pretty much most of the pros, or at least like 40% of them. But right now, I don't think the average person has experienced competitive yet. Right? I literally don't think most people have scrimmed yet. The most people that would be interested in the biggest, like the biggest chunk, and that's why I kind of get frustrated when like Tfue and people like that don't actually play competitive seriously, because they are reducing the audience for competitive and the actual player base for competitive. I think we have completely not tapped the actual people who would be interested in competitive Fortnite yet.
Yeah, I've never scrimmed. I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Like
I've,
that's you're you're the majority, the biggest, like the huge majority of people, and of even the people who have watched it, they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do this, right? There's a certain percentage of the people who have literally never clicked on the events tab or even seen like a pop-up cup or anything like that, because and even if they would be interested, they just haven't done it, right? They just hop on the game, they're with their friends, they're like, okay, let's play duos, like. Let's go. Let's keep going for wins. Let's do kill format tournament, because I know that I've figured that out already. I know where I can find those.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that does it for us this week, guys. Balla, thank you so much for coming on and
Thank you.
sharing your insight with us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure for sure.
Invitation is always here, my friend. Anytime you want to come back, feel free. Just give us a ring, and we'll have you back on. We can talk some more Fortnite. If any crazy update happens that you want to dissect or anything like that, just let us know, and
Sure.
we'll have you back on. And for all of you who stay tuned and watch this whole thing, or live or watch it on video, however you've watched it, we thank you so much for your time. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you learned something. And until next time, guys, take care.